Or he could just play a quieter opening, just keep the tension, and see whether Duda's nerves hold up. Now that Duda has something to hold on to, it's actually hard as well for the Polish player to maybe look for objectively the best moves when you would be pretty happy with a draw, which I think Duda would be here. And I was going to say, maybe a Petrov defense. Duda's used that many times against Magnus in the past. Not this time. What will Magnus choose? The Italian opening, the Spanish opening, white's light squared bishop coming out. Magnus has chosen a variety in this type of position, but he's pausing, so Magnus maybe not expecting this early development. Duda actually rarely does bring his knight to this square. He rarely opens with the king's pawn without playing the Petrov defense, and the Berlin playing Magnus's speciality against him. This is brave. And okay, one of the main lines, we did see a bishop for knight trade. Black's pawn structure is slightly compromised, but Black does have the bishop pair. Normally this goes to a kind of slower maneuvering phase now, where both sides have to decide which flank they want to park their king on. And okay, Magnus maneuvering. I haven't seen this knight move this early. At least I don't think so in this exact position.
Is it a novelty?
It's not a novelty, but it's only been played 3 times before, and the last game was in March 29th between Fedoseev and Tomaszewski, and that game ended between those 2 strong Russian grandmasters in a draw.
It makes sense. White's knight wants to maneuver around, maybe to sit next to its fellow knight. If the white king wants to castle on the right side of the board, then White's knights will be very well placed. And no, we do see aggression.
Hello, hello. That is the kind of move that I like to see.
Why is this aggressive, though?
Because normally throwing pawns where you might put your king is very risky. And obviously if White ever tries to castle that way, put his king on that side like Black has done, then he's pushed this pawn like his bodyguard. You know, those pawns are used to protect you. They're your bodyguards, but he's thrown it forwards. And instead, this is indicating that he's going to go for a bit of a pawn storm, we call it. So he might use that pawn and a couple other pawns to just attack the Black king, which is a really exciting, dangerous and very aggressive way to play the Berlin. So I love it. I love that move. That's very interesting, right? I mean, I did not expect that from Magnus, but he does need to win, I guess, so he's got to take some risks.
Incidentally, I think that this is a home-cooked idea by Magnus Carlsen, because whilst I was looking at the previous moves, I saw that the computer was suggesting this pawn move for White. And Magnus, by the speed of his moves, just seems to know, like, he's in full control. He knows exactly what he's doing. And look at that. That rook slides 1 square to the left, which does mean that White is priming to jump that knight to the f5 square.
I mean, it's really like a reverse Black Lion, which is another chessboard course I've done, but it's exactly the same formation you can use with the black pieces, this kind of idea. The only slight problem you often have with this plan with White, well, I say the only, one of the slight problems is you don't really have a hook to latch onto. So if Black had moved a pawn around his king side, you'd have, like, something to latch onto, but you've got to force the opening here, I guess, by using both of those pawns. But this is very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, this is just brute force. This is like caveman chess, just not caring about your own king, not caring about anything that's going on this side of the board, just throwing pawns towards the opponent's monarch, the opponent's king. So, yeah, I love it as well. I don't really think it's Magnus's style necessarily, but just for us, it's going to be very entertaining. It's not going to be a boring game, this one. Queens are not going to come off anytime soon. And I do quite like what Duda's doing, kind of in general. It's a bit slow, but Duda's just pushing pawns on the other side of the board. So now White's king has a dilemma. Does it want to sit in the center forever? Or if the White king, the only side it can castle on now is the left side, it will castle into the firing line if it ever dares to castle. So Magnus can get away with this. We should mention you can only get away with this type of idea if the center is blocked and there are pawns in the middle that can never really be removed. Things will never get unblocked in the middle of the board. So that's why he can go for this type of idea with a clear conscience. White's king pretty happy for now. But in the meantime, all-out attack. And that does begin with that typical maneuver, planting a knight on the f5 square. the Black King already feeling pretty uncomfortable.
Wow.
And I don't think you should take this knight because White's pawn on the g-file would capture and White's rook staring down at the Black King on that g-line. Yeah, really scary stuff.
Exciting Berlin, a bit of an oxymoron, but you know, it does.
Never heard that sentence before.
Yeah, exactly. You never will, really.
That's the last time you'll hear it, Kaya.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but it is. I mean, and it's Magnus who's made it exciting.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with David. It's not what you expect Magnus to do.
Normally.
I mean, he's a brilliant attacker, but he normally prefers to grind like a grandmaster. And here he's just going for the all-out attack. So it's great seeing that other side to his play as well.
But what should we expect with his king? With him now making the king side quite open with those pawns moving forwards?
I think he's just going to delay committing his king as long as possible. Magnus actually said this to me recently at the Olympiad, just an offhand comment. He was like, oh, I tried to do a David. And I was like, a what? He was like, just knock castle. And I was like, do I knock castle?
Oh.
And he's like, yeah, I noticed you sometimes forget or kind of do it on purpose and just knock castle. And I've done that, and I guess in my career, but I never consciously did it. It was just happened. And I guess he's trying to do the same here. He's just not going to castle his king. He's going to leave it in the centre of the board, that White king, as long as he can. Maybe one thing he could do later is just hint that he'll castle on the left flank. He'll force Duda to kind of commit his attack on that left side of the board, and then he'll say, no, I'm actually just going to sit. The White king could always slide one square to the right, and it's relatively safe there for now.
All right, well, people should bring out the popcorn for this game, I suspect.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And as Simon said, Magnus can do anything. He's the most universal player out there, maybe the most universal player in history. Duda is really committing to that left side just in case the White king castles there. But yeah, the thing is, Magnus likes to attack with his whole army, and here he's just attacking with a knight and a bunch of pawns so far. So still a lot to be done. White's bishop needs to come out into the game. White's queen needs to improve herself. White's rook in the corner eventually will need to join the fun, but shaping up, heating up nicely.
This is such a confusing position because for me it's not really clear like what Black is attacking apart from expanding on the left side of the board, and it's not really clear how White is actually going to start attacking the Black king. Maybe it's just both sides are grabbing as much space as possible, and then we'll see what happens next. Anything goes.
Attacking thin air, that's the new the new fashion.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could try to... We call it a hook, and I was going to suggest this move here, actually, trying to force a hook, and David can show us what that is, I guess, here.
Yeah, so this is an attack on the queen. Actually, the queen only has one safe square, so you only have two options here. Either you move the queen, it's a bit of an awkward square, kind of blocking in your own bishop, or, as Simon says, pushing the pawn forward is maybe the most natural move, kicking away the bishop, gaining time, but when the bishop retreats, this is the hook, right, Simon?
Yeah.
And we call it a hook because White now has something to latch onto, and now you can break open the position by force. You need a pawn break, you need a pawn exchange in order to open up lines. And for example, if Black, I'm just going to make a silly move here, just moves the bishop away, then suddenly, okay, he does allow this. Brave stuff from Duda, but now suddenly this line is going to become open for sure. That's guaranteed, and the Black king feels super uncomfortable. So this is the current position. I don't think Duda is going to move his bishop out the way because he needs to be ready to capture this knight, this really dangerous knight, if he needs to. But again, you don't want to capture it right now because suddenly open lines. That's the currency in the position, and Black's king. Yeah, it just feels like White is attacking something, at least something tangible. White is clearly going for the Black king, but these pawn pushes, as Jovanka said earlier, I mean, that's not where the White king's sitting yet. White's king hasn't committed. I mean, I think Magnus would be pretty happy just sliding his king across one square later. Talking of sliding across the Black king, getting out of the line of the rook.
So how, is this frustrating for Duda to play? He doesn't really know Magnus's intention, especially with the king then?
I would have thought he'd be quite happy as well because he loves sharp, crazy positions. And let's remember, if he wins this one, which he's probably not going to do normally, let's face it, if Magnus doesn't do something special, then, you know, but he can now win this game if Magnus overpresses, because it's one of those positions where it's so sharp. You know, so I feel Duda might be feeling OK as well. I mean, I just looked at the evaluation bar and I'm quite surprised to see how high up it is for Magnus. But Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you think Duda will be feeling OK here, or
No, I think
no?
Duda will
No,
be
okay.
shaking
Yeah.
in his boots. Is that,
Okay.
that's the expression, right?
That is certainly an expression.
Quaking in his
Quaking?
boots. Yeah, I thought it sounded a bit strange.
Well, I'm sure I will
Norwegian
say
is shaking in the pants.
in the pants.
Yeah, you're like, you know, your legs go like.
We don't want to see Duda shaking in his pants. Preferably not.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Simon. It's traditionally a Duda type of position. I think he'd rather be white, though.
Oh, definitely. He'd love to be white, wouldn't he? I mean, it's different defending these and attacking. He's known to attack. So, yeah, that's maybe the big difference, right?
And
So,
also, I mean, experience-wise, when I choose an opening, I always want to choose something where I'm more experienced, or at least my understanding will match my opponent's or surpass my opponent's understanding. But here, Duda, he's chosen an opening as black that he doesn't play on a regular basis. It's not his main weapon as black. Whereas Magnus, he's been playing the Berlin with white and black since he was in diapers, since he was a kid. He's played countless World Championship matches where the Berlin was the main kind of battleground. So as Jovanka mentioned, it might be a home-cooked idea, this one from Magnus, but even if he isn't in his theory, even if he's not 100% sure where the pieces go, he can feel it due to that due to years and hundreds of games, hundreds of training games in this type of opening. So yeah, it's kind of stacking up against Duda, but I do like the fact that the Polish player, he's played quite quickly, not showing fear. The last thing you want to do when you're being attacked is show your opponent that you're afraid. So Duda swinging his chair as well, looking pretty calm.
Yeah, I think he's looking calm, but I don't know. I think he's privately a little bit stressed. And whilst Magnus is considering how he's going to continue his attack, well, we have a selfie competition where we're asking, tweet a selfie that will impress our very own Ginger GM, Simon Williams. And a winner will get Simon's chessboard course on the hippo defense. And King of Blunders says is enjoying the live stream for round 5, but really looking forward for a new opening as well. There you see, it's a hippo.
Oh, right, OK. Yeah, I'm going to wait until it pops up on my screen. Yeah, anything with a hippo in is good. You're in with a shout. If you can get a hippo on there. Oh, it is a proper hippo.
It's a proper hippo.
Did he just have a hippo mask just casually lying around his house? He's like, oh, right, hang on a minute. I'll get my normal mask out, the hippo mask. How many people have a hippo mask in their house? That is impressive.
Or a filter.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, what's happening on the bar?
Magnus has just gone for it, but I don't know if this is the right moment.
I mean, it seemed like his king was going to be, you know, it seemed like there was a very simple solution to this, I thought.
Yeah.
Take the knight, push the pawn, right? I mean, that's what I was thinking of. I didn't think this was playable, this move.
He's trying to break open this line, which is understandable, but we did mention the bishop is sitting on the square, and it can easily, there we go, get rid of the white knight. Duda has captured. And as you mentioned, Simon, suddenly the placement of white's king, it was safe as anything just one move ago, but suddenly black can crack open the centre. We talk about opening lines. Suddenly black's king's pretty safe in the corner. It's the white king that's coming under fire.
I mean, this just did not look playable, David, to me.
Looks suicidal.
I mean, why?
The king.
Why play this? I mean, what's he doing today? I mean,
The king moves, the black queen can come in. I mean, start attacking from this angle. Just at the very least, you pick off this pawn.
I'm speechless. I mean,
I'm speechless as well.
It's a pretty simple sequence, this. I mean, if I can see it, it's simple. And I don't understand. You could have prepared this in many different ways. You could have put the queen in front of the king to stop this from happening before you did this. You could just be a little bit patient. But instead, he's...
Hide the king first?
Yeah, I mean, there's many... You didn't have to allow this, and this is the problem if you leave your king in the middle. You've got to make sure, as you said earlier, David, that you control the centre, that you stop your opponent opening lines in the centre, and this goes against all... And there we go, we have it on the board. It goes against all judgments that now black is opening the centre. Whose king is weakest here? Certainly Magnus's king. I'm just amazed by this, actually. Really... What about you, Jovanka? I mean,
I'm totally just astounded, actually. It just seems like Magnus is self-destructing here. I mean, because he had a great position. He had full control, and now this is a position where, frankly, black's pieces are all ready to attack. And what is white attacking with? I mean, it's just a rook. I mean, after pawn takes pawn, that's it. The queen is not going to get across to the right side. And all the action is happening in the centre.
Yeah, I mean, White's queen is misplaced, White's bishop kind of gets in the way. I guess Magnus's only hope is to somehow land his bishop on this diagonal and start going for the black king here, but yeah, that feels like a pipe dream. At the very least, at some point, black can just push a pawn and kind of take that square away from the bishop. I don't think he needs to, but yeah, I mean, again, the most natural move in the position. Duda's moves just flow now. Just bring the queen in, take this pawn. What is Magnus doing? His king is just so weak. You're not ready for this with the rook in the corner, with these pieces clumsy.
This one is even more surprising than the blunder in round one, because in round one there's a reason behind it, that he was going for the draw, he did a little miscalculation. But this one, very simple two-move sequence, which is pretty obvious. And
extremely obvious.
What did he miss? What on earth could he have missed to play this? He had lots of time. And it's a bit bewildering, actually.
And he doesn't seem like surprised or you know, he hasn't reacted like he did in the first game at all.
Yeah.
So it is a part of his plan then?
I mean, it's so ugly for White. Unless he's got a kind of a very specific idea in mind. Maybe he wants to, for example, take this pawn and after a recapture, put his bishop on this square. He is threatening checkmate now by capturing this pawn with his bishop. But the problem is black can just take this guy. And as Simon mentioned, there's only one king that's weak right now, and it's White's. I mean, you can sneak in from this angle. The white knight is pinned because otherwise there would be a checkmate on this f2 square. I don't see it. What has Magnus planned? Does he want to bring his rook up in this position? Maybe some ideas of some kind of skewer on this line because the white bishop is really well placed. The pawn can't capture because it's pinned on this diagonal towards the black king.
That feels like you're asking for trouble after the queen just disappears and gives a check.
After this check, yeah. I mean, I just don't see this working for black. You're asking for a lot from your position, from all your pieces. If we backtrack to the current position, you're asking for the position to open up, for this bishop to improve. You're asking for black to kind of not do anything for 3 or 4 moves. Yeah, Magnus in huge trouble. And yeah, just look at the piece. Okay, he does trade these pawns. And but yeah, just look at these pieces. Black has 3 active pieces, centralized pieces. What are White's pieces doing? They're mostly stuck on the back rank.
Wow. I mean, another idea that I'm thinking maybe Magnus has in mind, maybe not putting the bishop on c3, but maybe putting the bishop on h6. I mean, can you do that and say, hey, let's get in a check?
Yeah, maybe this is his idea.
But
this is possible. Trying to work out what black would do here. I mean, firstly, I'm not sure it's a massive threat if black's queen just takes a pawn. White gives 1 check, but it's just a check. And when, for example, you move out the way with a discovered check, for example, bishop takes pawn, the white rook hits the king now, black can just block.
yeah,
Suddenly, I mean, black is playing with all his pieces. This rook is going to swing across. I mean, White's king is just doomed.
yeah, it looks like a disaster zone for White.
Wow.
Oh, incredible stuff, actually.
I think he must have had some tactical idea in this position, but missed that it didn't work or something. I mean, I'm trying to make knight into towards black's king work here.
Knight sacrifices.
Yeah, I'm trying to make something drastic work here because the issue is if you don't do something drastic here as white, I mean, if you look at the placement of the pieces, black's pieces are controlling the centre of the board. Black's king is in the corner, which will be actually very safe. And White's pieces are really quite passive. None of those pieces have really left the starting ranks. They're all back, hiding in bed. And Black can get his last rook into the game. It's one of those positions where if you don't have something immediate, you're just collapsing here. The position will collapse because Black's moves are very, very simple. So I don't see it though. I can't see what any idea here, like literally any idea for White. Maybe, you know, that keeps the game going even. You know, it's tough, right? So,
Massive trouble for Magnus Carlsen. But Jan-Christoph Duda, he could go up to a 2-point lead in the match. What could be a winning plan here for Duda then?
I think the beauty for Duda is that he doesn't need a plan. His pieces are so good, he can just react. So if Magnus tries to checkmate him with those kind of bishop moves that we were suggesting, the black queen is just going to slide across to take a white pawn. The black queen is just going to slide across 2 squares. I think you can play that against nearly anything. You're just going to win a pawn, first of all, and then just defend that pawn, defend the king. you don't even need to go for the white king anytime soon. Just black's pieces are ready. So as long as you kind of react and defend against Magnus's threats, you know that you will be having a huge advantage as black. Maybe even extra pawns, extra material. Yeah, Duda doesn't even need to kind of think, okay, which piece am I going to improve? Which piece am I going to put where? It's just about calculation. And as long as he's not getting checkmated black, then he's just winning, I think. Yeah, it's just... I'm struggling to explain it as well, Simon, because, like you said, the last game was a hallucination. It was kind of a mind fart, as we call it. Just something just went wrong for Magnus. But this one, it's just that's the type of mistake that he would have made maybe when he was very young, and then he learned, okay, king's in the center. You have to be really careful to handle them.
Yeah,
this is why we castle.
It just almost feels like he forgot that Jan-Krzysztof Duda actually had some chances, had some attacking possibilities, and he thought it was all one-way traffic. And maybe I would just say he forgot about this pawn move, even though it is pretty obvious. And what are we? Well, Duda there, very comfortable, and looking like he knows that he has a great position.
I mean, Magnus has spent like 4 minutes now as well, so it's clear he just missed something. I mean, this is only a couple moves after he instigated this sequence of moves, and you know, Magnus can see further than 3 moves ahead. So he missed something, and he's probably realising now just how bad his position is. Well, he probably realised very quickly, and I guess he's just trying to find some way to keep the game going.
Yeah, ticked under 5 minutes now, Magnus Carlsen, on the clock.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay, he does threaten checkmate in one move. White's bishop, if it has time to go and capture the f6 pawn, it's checkmate. If you can capture a pawn near the black king. Okay, he tries this variation we actually showed a couple of minutes ago. So that white rook, it wasn't possible to capture it due to a pin on the long diagonal. Black's queen gave a check. Here, there looked like, it looks like there are multiple solutions. The black rook in the middle of the board could slide across.
I like how the bar number suddenly just...
Oh, no, look at Magnus.
I mean, I think just the rook coming over looks very simple.
Yeah.
Simple, doesn't it? I mean, dare I say simple, but he's... Yeah, I mean,
this
move just seems very good, right? I mean, the best form of defence is attack, and with that last move, Duda has now got the attack. He's got this queen that can check the white king. He's got the bishop pointing down. He's a pawn up. It's all going his way at the moment.
Yeah, if anyone's going to get mated, it might be white. And here there is still a threat. Magnus has to deal with it.
I mean, maybe you just bring the knight out so the rook can come in, guard that threat.
Yeah.
At some point, I don't know if you check first, and I don't see how white can stop checkmate. In actual fact,
just defend this pawn, and like you said, the rook is swinging across. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I think I would play it now. If you give a check, at least you give white the option of blocking, and maybe the white queen is now a bit more free to come out. But you're right, Simon, just this idea. Just defend your pawn, swing your rook across. How is Magnus getting out of this one?
I mean, can he try the same idea of just offering a queen trade? We've often said it.
Yeah.
That, when your king is feeling a little bit of pressure, trade of queens.
Yeah, maybe there's something stronger than that, Nightmare, because this maybe seems like Magnus is defending there.
Barely surviving.
Barely surviving is a better analogy, definitely.
But yeah, maybe this is his best chance, his only chance to try and save the game, Magnus.
I mean, there's not a rook attacking the queen here, is there? I mean, that doesn't work for many reasons, actually.
Oh, in the current...
No, bishop takes pawn. So, it's just...
in the current position.
Just looking for something. It looks one of those positions where there could be a killer blow. But, yeah, maybe it doesn't have to be.
I'm just wondering, I saw the evaluation bar go down. Duda had something better, so I'm just wondering if we backtrack a couple of moves. This was clearly the threat of checkmate, actually, taking the pawn, trapping the king. Maybe he could have just defended against it, hitting the white knight, because the white rook is never threatening to take this bishop, for example, because then the white king is the one checkmated. Maybe this was just a cleaner kill for Duda, if we backtrack a couple of moves. Maybe keeping this rook on the board was the easiest way, but now after this exchange, at least Magnus, okay, he's still losing, but still a pawn down, but at least he has some hope. I think for Magnus, he just needs to escape this one with a draw. Just get out of this game. It's not been Not been pretty. And yeah, I think this is the idea, as you guys mentioned, just white, just begging for a queen trade, hoping to swap the queens off, and still an unpleasant endgame if that even happens. Maybe black just keeps the queens on by retreating his queen, and uphill struggle, but he's alive. The world champion is alive in this game. For now.
This is so intense. Magnus Carlsen could be about to go 2 points down in this match, and if that happens, he will have to win the 2 last games to take it to tie breaks. Or can he save this game? Is there a chance of also winning the game then? All possible results? Or
Not right now. Magnus
he is
will
fighting
need
to survive in the game.
It's just survival. I think that's the only thing that can be on his mind, Magnus. He's got to forget that he played some... OK, he does retreat the knight, asking for that queen trade. He needs to forget that he did play some odd moves, and wow, flashy stuff from Duda. His idea is that the white queen can go up and take the black knight, but black's bishop is going to actually start attacking the white knight. This is a nasty pin that the white knight finds itself in. That's very strong. Yeah,
very, very strong. And I guess white has to continue with begging for a queen trade again, because, you know, white's king is so vulnerable and so shaky. Better to just say, I'm going to be down in material, but in game. Yeah. And whilst Magnus is waiting, I know this is so tense, but can I provide some light relief?
Yes.
OK.
By the way, I did see a great tweet from, is it Jess Fox? I don't know if you got that one, but it was a really good one. But yeah, I think it was up earlier, but sorry, you haven't.
OK. Yeah. Well, anyway, we might see the game finish very quickly.
Oh.
Yeah, threatening checkmate, this last move from Duda. Black's queen just wants to come down and take the white knight. Look at black's bishop, look at black's queen. They're both teamed up against that piece. You can't defend it. Maybe the only way is to give up white's bishop to deflect away the black queen temporarily. You could throw a pawn in the way of the diagonal between black's bishop and the white knight. It's just, I mean, it's just a temporary thing. It looks like you will be at least 2 pawns down. Maybe still some life. Maybe you can give back a piece at the right time. Magnus needs miracles, though. Still not looking happy. But this is good. He's settling in. He knows he needs to be resourceful. He knows he needs to be tenacious. And he goes for a king walk. Whoa, Magnus Carlsen. Look at Duda.
With the queen on the board.
Yeah, with queens on the board. The black's rook is coming in. Did you see Duda's look of disgust? He was like, you can't get away with that, mate. Plus 11, the evaluation bar says.
Do you like how it just like all the numbers suddenly change? I mean, 11. Yeah, no, you can't do that. I mean, OK. Let's see, where is it going to hide?
First, the knight drops.
OK. Well, one thing we should mention is that white does have a very deadly check on the board. You know, he's threatening to go bishop takes pawn. That would be a killer blow. Unfortunately, it is black to play.
And unfortunately, you're 2 pawns down. And unfortunately, black can just defend that threat and win. But maybe he can checkmate you immediately. So yeah, it's definitely a lost position for Magnus. He doesn't look too interested in this game anymore, just looking away there. I think very minimum, black's rook comes across and defends a pawn. First, Duda gives some threats, some checks, sorry. He does centralize the black queen, very sensible. There must be a killer blow. I'm not seeing it yet, but you don't need it, I guess. You still have the luxury of 2 extra pawns, a safer king.
7 minutes on the clock.
7 minutes on the clock, yeah.
You've got to be professional these days, and you've got to repeat the position twice. And then you say, you want to draw? No, thank you. I was just playing with you.
Yeah, so Duda can give a couple of checks, gain a bit of time on the clock if he wants to, rub it in, show Magnus who's the boss.
What is up with Magnus today? A very rare blunder in the first game. He usually comes back very strong after a loss. He comes back in terrible fashion in game 2. What is up?
It was just a great opening, and then one really bad move. That bad move was inexplicable, Simon. You mentioned it. But, yeah, this is the consequence. He's only played one bad move this whole game, Magnus, but he's got a lost position because of it. That's what happens at the top level. If you take your eye off the ball, if you're careless just for one moment.
And maybe don't stay true to your style, because you did say this is not Magnus' style, this game.
Yeah, I mean, when he's beaten Duda in the past on the tour many times, there have been 1 or 2 attacks here and there, but mostly it's just been kind of smoothly outplaying, getting a small advantage in the opening, and that just grows step by step. he very rarely kind of keeps all the tension, imbalances things. OK, black did give a check, and now the black rook defends that very important f-pawn. So just a small timeout there from Duda, but look at the white king. It's back on its starting square. He would love to castle right now, Magnus Carlsen. He would love to pick up his king and castle, but you can't once you've moved your king or your rook.
I was going to say maybe you should try it, but you can't even do it because you're playing online. You know,
If it was forward, you could at least pretend.
You could pretend just very casually castle and just see what happens. And but when you're playing online, the computer won't actually allow you to do it.
Yeah,
so it's like you can't. Yeah,
That's true.
you can't.
And also, but I have to say though, if you did do that in an over-the-board event, your opponent could suddenly jump and go touch move. Well, you know, this is the next best thing to castling.
Trying to castle by you can't even do that, can you?
No, you can't castle by hand.
Look, Duda's pre-moving now. He's checked and he's checked again, and he's pre-moving. He's assuming that Magnus is going to play king moves, which are actually forced, and this is deadly.
Maybe his rook's coming in with. He can guard that square or something.
Nasty checks.
Yeah, this is the issue.
Did you guys see that at the Olympiad? Sam Shanklin pre-moved over the board. He assumed his opponent would check him, and he touched his king, moved it, and then he realised his opponent didn't go the whole way, and he had to move his king, and he had to resign because any king move was losing on the spot.
It's a key match, that as well. I mean, that was America versus Armenia, I think, and it was, I mean, don't pre-move, and here we go, resigns.
Wow, huge drama, not only in this match, you guys, it's huge drama in the FTX Crypto Cup. Magnus Carlsen loses the second game.